Hey everyone, welcome back to Google Workspace Recap, your number one source for everything Workspace by the Tab Geeks Network. My name is Jesse Nolan, my co-host is Steve Larson. We're here to help you keep up. Fun fact here, Steve also has twins, so he knows what I'm going through here. But my two previous kids did not prepare me for this. I'm basically staying up until 5 a.m., did a little nap here and there.
I could have told you that.
You could have, yeah, you should have.
I think I did.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure I did.
Basically,
I got it. You're like, I got it. We got help. We're going to be all right.
We do have help, and we had it pretty well figured out for the first two, but I didn't also take into account that I still have the first two at home that I also have to take care of and whatnot, and then now there's two more little ones, but it's they're a little bit preemie as well. So the girl, she's acting it. The boys, he was ready to go, but he's the reason they came early. He was pushing his way out, where she's like, no, I want to stay in my hot tub and cook for a little bit longer. And so she's been a little bit more difficult. But it's like you put one down, and then the other one gets upset, and so you take care of the other one. And we're feeding them at the same time, trying to get them on a schedule, and all throughout the night and so on. But it's just a little bit of colicky and this and that. So I'm basically staying up till 5 a.m., little nap in there once in a while, and then sleeping in the morning when I can hand them off to my housekeeper so that they can take over. So apologies in advance. We're recording during the day here on Tuesday afternoon, this is a little bit late and not going to be as produced as it usually is. So bear with us, please, while I continue optimizing my schedule and stuff around here. Anyway, Steve, I love the background there. It looks almost Google.
Yeah, just, checking out some different podcast studios here in the city. They're kind of all scattered around. There's places that you can kind of find. And just figured I'd pop into one today and check it out. And here I am. There's a hotel that's got a podcast studio right in reception. And that's where I'm at today.
It's crazy. The glass display behind you.
A few blocks from the office. Yeah,
it looks like you're not.
Blocks from the office.
Looks like you're not in any kind of studio. It looks like you're just kind of in a coffee shop.
No, I can literally touch the walls with my arms. That's how small this little studio is. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep, touch and touch. That's it. Yeah, that's it.
You were commenting before the show that it's a podcast studio. It's not made for video.
Yes, correct. Yes, I had to move some things around here, readjust. I've got things stacked on each other to get a camera position. So it's definitely designed for
Leaning
audio
Tower of Pisa collapses over there mid-show. You know why.
Yeah, we may have a mini crisis on our hands.
Right. Hopefully not. Well, we've got...
I'm touching the laptop with just delicate fingers so that it doesn't fall over because it is balancing at the moment on its stand.
There you go. So, you need a what do you call it? A wireless keyboard and mouse setup.
Well, it's a laptop, so...
You can still use a wireless keyboard and mouse. Just you don't have it with you.
True. I do. Yeah. Why?
Don't touch it. It works. Don't touch it.
I know. Yeah.
It's one of those precarious
I don't have a table, though, to use the keyboard and mouse on. That's the thing. I'd have to have my lap. Anyways.
I always find it funny though that these are just podcast episode or just podcast studios and no thought towards podcasts are more than just podcasts these days. They are also videos very often.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I think that's something that we're doing. We're at one point we were planning a redesign of our podcast studio at 1871, and that's definitely part of the concept of the redesign is making sure that it works for video if needed. Because our current location, I've recorded a few times there. You've seen what it's like, and it could be. It wasn't designed for that, as you said.
Right. It could be more aesthetically pleasing as far as backgrounds go, like mine, which is designed for video.
Exactly. Yeah.
So interesting show this week.
Yeah, good in a sense. I think it's good timing. It's the right week of the year to not have any updates.
Zero of any kind.
Right. None. Gives us an opportunity to talk about, what we're hoping for this year in terms of updates with Workspace. What we're seeing, announced already that's in development, and, kind of our wish list of things we'd like to see from Google. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today with you. And in terms of updates, there was, a Google Drive for desktop update there. And of course, we have our items in the news that, things that we've seen there related to Workspace and Google in general. So that's what we have for you. Those other news items, a lot of Chromebook news. We had CES going on just this last week, and of course, you see a lot of hardware announcements around that event. So a lot of things happening there, and let's see what else do we have. Framework, some stuff with Framework, some Acer Chrome boxes, and then Jesse's added one here at the end. Google might need to become un-Google-like is a Wall Street Journal article there. So interesting to see what that is all about. I have not jumped into that article, so it'll be interesting to see that. I'll cover that one update, that driver update here real quick. Version 69 has started to roll out as of yesterday. A lot of client-side encryption improvements there with that one. Users can now use Workspace client-side encryption to encrypt and upload local folders with Drive for Desktop. There's some improved error notifications, some, the quick wheel, additional bug fixes and performance improvements there, whatever those are. And an important announcement here with the release that Drive for Desktop has ended support for Windows 7 and macOS versions earlier than 10.15.7. So keep that in mind if you are rolling out, or if updates are happening automatically. There's lack of support for that. So I don't know if that means I think that means that the updates will cease to continue on those devices. Probably it will continue to work in whatever version it ends on here, if it's ending on 69 or if it ended already on 68, but make sure that you're not running those older version endpoints and OSs.
I can tell you're still in the city by the sound of the fire engine going by outside.
Oh, yeah. I barely even heard it. I could. Wow. Yeah.
It's fine.
Didn't even notice it. I guess even when you live here, you hardly notice it. Other than unless you're on the street and you've got a fire engine or ambulance or something driving by, then it's super loud and annoying. But if you're in places, you don't even notice it anymore.
Yeah, when I lived in Manhattan, same thing. You don't, unless you're in front of it or just driving by right in front of you.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Just tone it out.
That's the other thing too. I never understood why they have to have those sirens so loud at moments when there's no need for it.
Yeah.
It's like they're driving through an empty street after they've gone through an intersection, and it's sirens blazing. Why?
Well, if somebody runs out from between the cars or whatever, they want to make sure everybody knows they're there.
They're never driving fast. They're just driving normally down the street. It's I don't know. Very different when I was in Europe, Germany especially. Very quiet.
Really?
Emergency vehicle. Yeah, their sirens are never on. The lights are on. The sirens are only used when they need to communicate to drivers that something needs to be done. Otherwise, everyone moves on their way. They move to the side or slow down, whatever they need to do. And unless someone's not doing something or they're going through an intersection, it's on a red light, for example, they're not on. Never hear them.
Yeah, I don't remember if it's the same in Europe.
A lot of control
Israel,
over noise pollution there.
That's for sure. In Israel, the police always have their lights on, regardless of emergency or not emergency.
Oh, always.
Overhead lights, always on. No siren, they're just always on, so they're there.
Right, always flashing.
I don't remember if Europe does that as well. Certainly not here in the States. Took a lot of getting used to. I was like, why does the guy behind me have his lights on? He's not pulling me over. He's not in a rush.
Interesting.
He's just driving.
I didn't know that. I never noticed that when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Okay.
They may have changed it, but that certainly was the way it was then.
All right. Well, let's jump into those, looking forward to items. I have a very short, concise list because I just looked at the upcoming releases page that Google publishes. It's kind of a help article there. Quite a few on the list. There's 72 still listed as in development. Now we kind of went through those. There's not quite 72, in fact, because there's some of the same ones in different categories. There's also some things that I think are still listed as in development when they've been released. But you get a taste there of what's coming if you don't have access to roadmap or visible changes docs. So you can get a little feeling for what is coming from Google, and we'll share that link in the show notes so you can check that out. And what I'm looking forward to from those, the bulk configuration of third-party applications. So just going to make it easier to manage those third-party apps, in your app access control panel, to be able to upload those applications with the CSV file to control those and configure those as needed. So that really helps for organizations that are have been around for a while, haven't had those policies in place, haven't enforced stricter controls, and of course now need to start to update those and maybe do that in bulk. And I've had some organizations that have said, hey, we've got 1,000 applications, we've got 900 apps that we've got to manage. How are we going to do that one by one? So this can really help with managing that for orgs, and even small orgs. There's 1871, we're like 40, 50 people. We've got like 150, 60 apps in there that are listed, and maybe over 200 or something like that. It's people start clicking on things and logging into things, and it's a lot of access that our people are giving away. So something to look at in general in terms of your admin console is look over into what you can do to limit that moving forward. And the simplest thing that you can do, and I think I was talking to Brian because it came up in Mac admins a couple times, is what we're looking at maybe doing a video of what that looks like, what you need to do in terms of the quickest path forward to a more secure environment, which is going into your applications list, trusting anything that is currently limited, or not changing something from untrusted to trusted, but making things trusted, and then starting to block third-party application access and start to block APIs into the Google services. And that's an approach that allows the current applications to continue to work as they are. But moving forward, it means that you have to approve and review and look at what people are going to be giving access to corporate data to. So that's something to kind of look out for soon. I think I'll start. I want to kind of do a video there, kind of what Brian's been doing, and do that one. It's something I'd like to do. So hopefully that comes out in the next few weeks. Have some time to record that, I think, and show you guys that. So that's the number one thing I'm looking for there. Next, there's the Meet and Zoom device interoperability. That is going to be a big changer for orgs, given the number of meeting video conferencing applications that everyone uses, Zoom, WebEx, Teams, all of those. So that's going to just make it a lot easier for organizations using Meet hardware to jump into Zoom meetings when they're not using a Meet event within their org, or external parties are doing a Zoom meeting, or maybe you have a mix between Meet and Zoom use cases in your organization like we do. Make it easier there. And then finally on the list, then I think it's Meet and Zoom, but I'm pretty sure Teams is coming as well. It wasn't mentioned there. I'm sure it's been talked about openly, but if not, oops. I think have a look for Teams there as well. And then finally, controlling third-party app access using application access control. So again, just kind of back to the security piece. As you know, those are my topics. I like the security features that Google rolls out, and that's going to allow you to block third-party applications accessing Google Workspace data at a domain level using the application access control. So those are my three. Jesse, I know you've kind of expanded upon what you saw in that list to some other things that you'd like to see that aren't part of that list. What are you looking forward to this year
Yeah,
I'm
so
sure.
I
I'm sure some people can guess some of yours already. But.
well, everybody knows I'm a big meet and chat fanatic. I'd say that probably the number one
Hmm.
thing, and I didn't put this on the list here. The number one thing I am looking forward to this year is Google finally rolling out all the features that they've been promising us. I mean, there have been so many
Mm.
announcements that it's just like it's coming
I mean,
soon, it's
I mean,
coming
that's
soon.
always
It
the
is
thing. That's
always, but it's
always the
like
thing, right?
let's try maybe and lower the amount of time between, or decrease the amount of time in between the announcement and
Yeah.
actually it showing
Sure.
up and rolling out so that we can use it.
Yeah.
And it was a
Yeah.
very ambitious jump forward that they made with the design of the unified inbox and page lists and smart canvas and all of that. But it's Google is very much the type of organization that iterates relatively quickly and continues doing so. And so big flourishes are not always their style. Understandably, they had to do it in order to kind of level the playing field with the other competitors in the space. But let's actually, see those things come to fruition and see some accelerated development in those areas. And I think that as part of the cost cutting measures that are happening, you're going to have some of the other, I don't want to call them distractions, but features that are maybe not as important come to being focused on less. You're going to have the rest of
Yeah.
this suite here. Really, the core features are probably going to accelerate and start really going hard just to make sure that they can maintain the level playing field and even start pulling ahead again from their competitors. So that's just one thing that I'll put out there.
Yeah.
Anybody who is a fan of the show and has heard us talk about before, Smart Canvas and True Page Lists are wonderful foundations, great steps forward, but not quite where I really wanted them to go. Smart Canvas has so much potential and could really bring a lot of the functionality of Notion and some of the other similar tools to Google Docs and to the editors and allow somebody to really just mind map and be creative and put data wherever they want on the page, across the page, but you can't because it's not True Page List. It's still 8.5 by 11. And I would like to see them kind of expand that so that you can do True Page List, at least give us the option. And opening up Smart Canvas for more interoperability, other
Yeah.
chips and other third parties.
So
Go ahead, Steve.
a so no, I'm just saying like a basic page list and then a true page
Mm-hmm.
list design, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Something I'm definitely looking forward to moving into Google Meet is something that because I'm a stickler for quality and I have really good data connections, is 1080 Meet videos, for crying out loud. This has been something that Zoom has had for a long time, and I love having in Zoom because, I spend a lot of effort making sure that my presentation is great, and I'd love to see it come across in high quality. And obviously, this isn't a feature for everybody, which is why it hasn't been prioritized so much. Plus, also with the pandemic, internet congestion issues or concerns, I believe that this, among other things, was pushed off a little bit. So I really want to see this happen going forward. It's just much nicer to see. I mean, it's not like we don't all have at least 1080 screens. At least I certainly hope you all have a minimum 1080 screen that these can come across on. Because if you're on a one-on-one and you want to full screen somebody, it honestly doesn't look great if it's not at least 1080. So I much more enjoy one-on-ones in Zoom for that reason, because it's a little bit more, not necessarily realistic, but a little bit more, better quality and easier to stare at. Steve doesn't agree with me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, sure. It's nice, I
Mm-hmm.
guess.
Another,
It's never been something that I've, you know, noticed would be beneficial to my
yeah,
meeting. I don't know.
yeah. You also joined from your phone, so
I do. I do it from the phone. A lot of times I have the camera off because I'm like, working from
yeah,
home. I'm actually not sitting down at a desk. I'm kind of moving around. Doing other things, but that's not the case all the time. Like the one-on-ones, I typically always have the video
right.
on and kind of focused on that meeting. But a lot of the larger meetings, of course, team meetings, things like that, yeah, camera's not usually on, and there's usually some other things happening, going on that I'm taking care
Right.
of. same time.
Well, at the
So
day job, one of the policies we put in place during the pandemic, and obviously this had to be taken with a little bit of understanding and grain of salt for people who don't necessarily have the ability to have their camera on at all times, but we do try and mandate that people have their cameras on at all times, because that is one of the things that makes remote work so well, is if you can actually interact with people and see nonverbal cues. And as Steve is nodding at me here and not actually saying anything, I'm able to see that because his camera is on. And one of the other things that we mandate from like totally behind working from home, but you have to have a respectable, enclosed, not necessarily enclosed, but nobody walking behind you naked on screen kind of a thing, which has happened, but that's a story for another time.
oh my gosh, yeah.
But or many of the other things that we've seen on there, but essentially is if you're going to work from home, you need to have a contained workspace with not a lot of background noise and things like that, whether it's a home office, a bedroom, whatever it is. And in that case, if you're able to do that, then you're able to work from home, which means you should be able to have your camera on, because even with virtual backgrounds, it's still you're able to spruce up a blank wall or your bedroom or whatnot.
Virtual backgrounds. Interesting you should mention
what
that.
a segue
Okay,
here.
what else is on
What a
your
segue.
list? Yes.
Org-wide meeting backgrounds. And this is something that was also born out of the pandemic, was that we had sent out branded graphics, well-designed graphics to our team members to be able to use as a company branded virtual background. And people like that a lot. Some people needed extra hand holding to get it into Google Meet because they are not the most, shall we say, tech savvy out there. And so it would be nice to have the meeting backgrounds be able to be set as options by default in Google Meet for people just to click and choose, and there it is, and we can update them based on seasons or holidays or celebrations or whatever, different events like our company town hall and things like that, which we do quarterly. It'd be nice to be able to continue rolling those out, and a nice little extra branding and marketing element to bring to all anybody who wants to use them. And obviously, I don't want to mandate it because I like being able to have my background, so why would I do that to anybody else?
Yeah.
But yeah, I would like to have that as available. What do you want to say, Steve?
I was just thinking, like, I was just, as I was switching over to the doc that we have for our show notes and, looking at the video and the brightness, and I'm like, what if I could do like dark mode for Google Docs?
That would be nice.
It'd be interesting though, but
They have it on mobile.
interesting though because, like, well, they do, yeah. So, but when you're designing or coloring a document in Google Docs on the web, you typically are doing more color customization, for example. So that'd be a tricky one to maybe maintain for I don't know. Yeah, I guess if you did that, you really wouldn't be defining colors and changing colors too much. You'd just be wanting it in dark mode to review. But yeah, it'd be nice to have dark mode in Google.
Yeah, and I do like it on mobile,
Sheets,
the dark mode for that, and they do have the option to view in light mode if dark mode is your default there, and which for me it is. And there's a doc that comes through with formatting or whatnot, as you were saying, that does not work so well with dark mode. I just switch it over. I grumble about it if I'm viewing it late at night in the dark, because then it's searing my eyeballs, but it does work. So
Yeah. There you go. Add one
There
to my
you
list.
go.
Dark
There
mode
you
for
go.
Google Docs.
On the
That's
web.
what I'm looking forward to future. Yeah.
All right. Next topic I have here is add-ons and chatbots that actually work. Google has this wonderful little add-on sidebar that's in the side of Gmail and chat and all of the editors and so on. And the only things that really work in there that I actually want to use are the Google-made ones. And it has so much promise and capability for contextual awareness to open something and it being able to say, for example, a ClickUp task or an Asana task or, something along those lines and we'll get to my rant on task management in the next one, but to be able to say, okay, this email, grab it and put it over there, or just view my things that are due today, or the things that I'm working on today, or view the calls that are coming in, which I think you can do in Google Voice, but not really in any of the other providers that I know of. Like, let me be able to actually have a decent usable, if you want me to have a unified workspace, acknowledge that I don't do every single thing in Google Workspace. I do as much as humanly possible possible in Workspace. But task management is not great in Workspace, and that's the next one. But we'll get to that. Phone calls, I'm not using voice at this time, perhaps in the future, but I'm using RingCentral and, Dialpad and whatever else. I'd love to be able to see a lot more availability for features. And granted, there are security concerns here, and maybe there's something to turn on, turn off, and it's obviously if you're, there are lots of problems with doing this, but it's Google. Come on, figure it out, please. I mean, that would just be awesome to make it a lot easier for people to stay on a single pane of glass. And by extension, chatbots. It's been years, and I still haven't seen a really awesome chatbot that impressed me that wasn't developed by Google, and even the ones that were developed by Google, I don't use. So I would love to see a lot more progress in those areas. On to task management. You've all heard me rant on this before. Google's task strategy is looking a lot like their chat strategy, in which case it's all over the place. You've got lists in Google Keep. You've got checklists in or in Docs, and then you have lists in Tasks, and then you had reminders on Calendar, which I understand is coming over to Tasks. And it's kind of all over the place, and they don't really talk to each other, and they're starting to, and Google is working on that. But I still cannot view Tasks in its own web app in the browser. I have to view it in the sidebar, which is this big. It's just a piece of it. There's a mobile app. There's, I believe, even an iPad app, if I'm not mistaken. There's a third-party app, or a couple of third-party apps you can use, but I don't want that. I want Google's apps, and I want it to be a web app, and I want to be able to use it just like I have a web app for chat, just like I have a web app for, for Meet and so on, and be able to have it open as I would have ClickUp or Asana open as a desktop app, on my screen, so that I can actually do a lot more advanced task management features. And that leads me to my next point here, is that I wish it would do a lot more. You have all the wonderful makings and pieces of an incredible suite of project management tools. It's already a suite of collaboration tools. The final step there, as Google obviously knows because of the features we're seeing come out here, that you finish a meeting, you want to assign, even during the meeting, assign tasks to people. And I forgot to mention, tasks that are assigned in Spaces, right? Bring it all together. Just give me an extra tab,
of course.
Or an extra window or whatever the heck they're calling it in the unified dashboard, where I can bring up all of my tasks and manage them on different lists and.
Are tasks from Spaces not even visible then?
I think they are now. They weren't originally. They are now, and they show up with a little thing that says this is the space that it came from, and then you can click on that and it jumps over there. Yeah, but I'm not going to be able to see that in, I'm not going to be able to tag that task from that space in a doc, for example.
Right.
Link to it, forget about it, right? So I really, that's something that has bothered me for a long time about the entire Google Workspace ecosystem, and the fact that it would be, obviously there's challenges here like everything else, but it would just be so incredible to stay within this environment with the level of interoperability across their different products that they've achieved with everything else. Why can't we have this with tasks? And that's a big ask for me. And I'm loving ClickUp. It's wonderful. But at the same time, if I want to add something from Google Drive to a ClickUp, I can't just paste the link and have it load up. I'd have to go to, add from Drive and this and that, whatever, and then it goes in and it shows up. If it were in Google, it just paste, boom, it's there. Hit tab to autofill this. Great, thank you. Call it a day. So that's more of my ongoing rant on tasks and syncing it wherever it's assigned and across the different apps in Google Workspace. And the last one that I had here is something that I have been increasingly annoyed with as of late, is Google Chat's lack of ability to deal with bad reception on mobile. So if I have a very slow Wi-Fi, so for example, if I'm on a Starlink connection, it's not very slow, but latency is through the roof, or even worse, a Viasat satellite connection, latency is 700 milliseconds on those. Okay. Or if I'm, in a congested network at a stadium that hasn't been upgraded to full 5G, or if I'm on with only 1 or 2 bars of service of even LTE, every single time I'll get the notification because it comes through to my home screen. Notification shows up because that's handled through the notification service. But then I go to open the app and either it doesn't load, or it says connecting and it never actually comes through, or it does come through and I go to reply and it just locks up and doesn't do anything, or it eventually fails out. Never mind the ability to upload pictures on a connection like that. It doesn't even allow you to move around the app when it's trying to add a picture, to not even send it, just to add it, to attach in the chat, in the compose box of the chat, to be able to send it. It'll completely lock up. And this is on iOS. I haven't tested this on Android because that Android is not my daily driver, and I honestly haven't used Android in quite some time. But on iOS, the low data, low reception handling or high latency connection handling is awful. And I say it's awful because I use WhatsApp in those circumstances, and it has absolutely no problem sending, receiving messages, even with photos, even with video, and being totally operational like a normal day. Yeah, okay, it takes a little bit longer to upload the image, but it's usable, and everything loads and everything goes, and I've not had failure issues there. And it's like, okay, Google, who has pioneered, sorry, my display is now responding to me. Google, who has pioneered the ability to transmit data, and I'm looking at YouTube here, over crappy connections, and understand that you're on a crappy connection and be able to adjust to accommodate for that. Why can't we do that with chat? Why is chat basically unusable on a crappy connection? That's what I would love to see fixed in 2023.
Yeah, and you're on a lot of those. I mean, you often use those types of connections, and that's why you're noticing it quite a lot. I don't often, but I do recall, when you're at those large events, for example, when network connectivity is just bad on everything. Also, chat is right. Your chat is noticeably problematic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that often on those scenarios. I have gigabit home Wi-Fi and gigabit at the office, and I'm in a highly populated 5G area. But when I go up the mountain and I go to where, oh, there goes Steve's all red, white, and blue lit up. Fire engine going by. I heard you mute, but I saw the lighting on your face.
That's
But
it's like I saw it behind me, saw it in the mirror. Like, oh, gotta mute.
But what I was saying is, when I do go up the mountain, or when I do go, away, and I travel a lot, so I'm in an airport or whatever, when I'm on a location that just has crappy Wi-Fi, it's just terrible. It's just practically unusable, and to the point where, my wife and I work for the same company at the day job, and we oftentimes chat, whether certain things, not too personal, but just chatting back and forth, because she's in chat all day long and she sees things, and so we oftentimes will send messages, direct messages in chat, and it's like, all right, I gotta switch to WhatsApp because I can't get through. It just doesn't work. So that's my thoughts on that. Alrighty, what should we talk about next? Now we have some other news.
That's right. Other news.
CES has been going on, and I honestly have not had time to go through a lot of the news, but I have seen a bunch of YouTube videos and a bunch of articles from our friends over at Chrome Unboxed and 9 to 5 Google that are showing off, and Liliputing also, that are showing off some of the amazing new things that are coming out at CES. And the article here from Chrome Unboxed that I think probably describes this the most accurately here is that the best of CES 2023, Chrome OS steals the show. And I've seen a lot of other articles. It was actually Matter, the smart home standard, stole the show, but that's besides the point. There were a decent amount of Chrome OS devices, and really good Chrome OS devices, that were unveiled here, and I still have to go through them all so that I can keep track of everything that's going on. But to give you a advanced teaser, I suppose, if you haven't seen any of these thus far, there is HP unveiled a new version of the Dragonfly. It's called the Dragonfly Pro Chromebook, and it is, well, I'm not going to quite call it consumer because they do have the Pro moniker in there, but it is not the Elite that I've shown off here before and that I absolutely love. But it does seem to take pretty much everything from the Elite and put it in the Pro model. But they also added an RGB keyboard, backlit keyboard, which is an interesting choice, but I guess they're trying to embrace some of the gaming focused devices that are pretty popular out there right now from Acer and Asus that Google was sharing and showing off when they were still working on cloud gaming focus, and I guess they are still working on that focus even though Stadia is now effectively dead. Just really powerful Chromebooks to be able to do gaming. The Dragonfly Pro also has a 1200 nit screen, which is insane. My amazing ultra wide not Dragonfly, my ultra wide Samsung G9 Odyssey monitor is only 1000 nits, and this laptop is 1200 nits. That is a feature that is available with the Elite, not the model that I got. It is, I think, 400 or 500 nits, which is very nice for a laptop. I think, if I remember correctly, the MacBook Pro 14 and 16s start out at around 500 nits, but then for HDR and focus areas can crank it all the way up to 1000 or 1200 nits as well. So looks like that's being the new high-end standard for creators and people who need really, really good performance displays on laptops. So interesting there. A little bit on the lower end, Lenovo has the new IdeaPad Flex 3i Chromebook. I've been very, very impressed with Lenovo's build quality on the Flex series, and I'm sure that this is going to also continue along that line. They're really solid. It's hard plastic, a little bit of metal in there, just enough to make it feel slightly rugged but not bulletproof, and keep the cost down because it's not an all metal frame similar to the Dragonfly. Yeah, Steve.
The price point is interesting because it's good. I mean, it's good. It's like starting at 429. And, it's not too cheap because, like the cheap stuff, you're just not going to last. It's not too expensive. Yeah, it looks like a pretty good good device here.
For sure. Another one that I am very, very happy to see here is the Acer. There's two of them from Acer. Acer Chromebox CX, and is this an i5? Like, is it CX i5 or is it CX L5? I can't really tell from the branding here. CXL5, sure. I think. But this is an interesting one because it's, I forget what they're calling it, add-in-one. Not an all-in-one, but an add-in-one, because you can start with just the Chromebox, which is Wi-Fi 6E, 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port, 2 USB 4 Type-C ports, and what you can do is you can also just attach it directly onto a 24-inch monitor from Acer, which also looks to have a webcam included, and it kind of just snaps onto the back there, which is pretty cool if you are buying 24-inch screens, and it can go up to a 12th gen Intel i7 processor. So very cool enterprise level showing there. But also I saw, and I don't think I included it in here, but I do have a link. No, that's elsewhere. Acer finally, as I predicted, updated the extremely versatile, well-loved Chromebox 5. It was previously called the Chromebox 4. I actually have one sitting here next to me, so for anybody who needs a visual aid, wants to know what I'm talking about, this is the classic Asus Chromebox that they've had for years. They update them every couple of years. The last version has Gen 10 or Gen 9 processors in it. The new version has not only changed the design so that it's a little bit more rounded on the edges and does a little bit more, they move the Chrome branding to a little bit more monochrome instead of colorful branding there. They're calling it the Chromebox 5, and they added an interesting feature, which is wireless charging to the top of the box. And thank you, Steve, for throwing the link in there. And just like the rest of the Chromebox series from Asus, it starts out very, very reasonable, usually with significantly less powerful hardware. But if you're only using it for a kiosk or a business center station, it doesn't need a whole lot of power. And these are also the devices that I like to replace Windows machines with as we continue updating our, for example, real estate agents' desktops across the fleet and get rid of Windows 7. Because as we've been talking about with a lot of our other announcements, it's done. Microsoft officially dead and gone, and kill it and bury it. So,
yeah, there's a new digital signage mini device from AOpen, I believe, that I came across, and it's like a fanless design. It's a lower spec CPU. So it's called the AOpen Chromebox Mini. and similar style in terms of that kind of like heatsink style design, but fewer ports, just like 3 USB-A ports and a couple in the back. You've got your Ethernet, HDMI, you've got your Wi-Fi, external Wi-Fi pieces, and then you've got your power port, headphone jack, and then it looks like I don't know, it just says SW.
This is a new model?
What this is, but
They've
it looks
had this
like,
for years.
almost like an RS-232.
Yeah.
Not the
I
mini.
have
I haven't seen the
about
mini.
50 of these
Oh, really?
as business stations that are not signage, but they are set in kiosk mode from AOpen. They're fantastic.
Okay. Yeah, I only, for whatever reason, I just recently started seeing this on CDW and
It
thought
could
it
be.
was
This
a new
looks
version.
this looks
The
updated,
mini was a new,
but still very
variant.
sleek. The whole thing is basically heatsink because there's no fan in it.
Yeah. Right. Yep. So, but yeah, I like those ones, and the price point on that is $215. So
Yeah, the
it's
Chromebox
like
5 starts at $400,
price.
$399. So
for that. Yeah, and that's why when you said lower spec for digital signage, I'm like, oh, I mean, $215 for digital signage on the AOpen Mini,
for
like
sure.
that's the way to
Absolutely.
go. As long as you're not doing, like a lot of video maybe or something that's
Yeah,
CPU
the
graphic intensive,
AOpen device says
runs
maximum
a slide
1080.
presentation. Yeah, yeah, but the regular size one has a better CPU on it. The Mini is like a Rockwell,
Right,
I
I
think, or
remember.
something. I
Yeah.
forget what the CPU was. It just says processor quad core.
Gotcha.
It's a rock chip. Yeah, it's a rock chip out of the Mini.
Cool. So yeah, stay tuned for more news from CES as we continue unearthing and unveiling the articles about that and seeing the different announcements. One of the things that is generally disappointing with these announcements from CES is that they don't ship until like November. Another instance of announcing and then not shipping for a very long time. Google. But I have seen that it looks like the Chromebox
Right,
5 is shipping later on in Q1. So pretty exciting there. Yeah.
Well, take that. Chrome devices are notorious for not
true.
releasing on time. So,
All right.
seems like anything attached to Google, other than the Pixel,
Yeah,
doesn't come
exactly.
out on time.
All right, two more items in the news here to talk about. One of them is a 9to5 Google review of the Framework Chromebook that we showed off on this very show a couple of weeks ago or a month ago. I have continued to use it and have played with it. I have been using it.
Have you been using it?
Not quite as a daily driver because when I went to the hospital, I just grabbed my MacBook Pro if I'm out and about, and I know that I'm going to need to do any kind of production. I always grab or any kind of real hardcore work, which includes video editing. I just grab the MacBook because then I've got everything. But I really, really prefer Chromebooks for any time that I'm just doing web-based work, and that is also real work. I'm talking, not video editing level, because the video editing just isn't there on the Chromebook, and certainly doesn't have Final Cut Pro. There have been a couple of things that have cropped up on this from me personally that I'm like, that would have been nice, like a touchscreen. I don't use touchscreens very often, but then yesterday I was remoting into something, and I really could use a touchscreen to be able to, because it wasn't moving around well. The mouse control was not great, and it was made for more of a touchscreen app because it was Android on Chrome, but it was not a touchscreen. So,
Yeah, I think my kids are using touchscreens at school because every time they're with me on mine, they're touching the screen and trying to scroll.
Stop touching my screen. Get your grubby
So I can
fingers off my
imagine
screen.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, like it doesn't. Yeah, no. I think once you have it and you start using it, you get very used to it.
Well,
and you get
kids are also the
accustomed to it,
touch
I think.
generation, right? We were the keyboard generation,
but-
and then it became keyboard and mouse generation, which I'm also part of, I guess. And then now it's the touch generation, and then the generation after them will be the VR generation or something. Who the hell knows, Us as kids adopted PCs and computers in general, and not mainframes, and now they're touch only and voice activated only, right? My 3-year-old being able to bring up Dora the Explorer on her own by talking to the Amazon Fire TV and saying, Alexa, play Dora the Explorer on Prime Video, like she's 3. What are you looking at?
Yeah, I'm looking up because it's getting a little dark right now, and I'm I have some lights. I believe I have to touch
All
them.
right, well, we're almost done. I have one last thing here.
But we're almost done. I've got a white screen in front of me. That's my lighting for now.
Yeah. Use that MacBook Pro 1000 nit. There you go. Yeah.
There we go.
There you go.
There you go.
Now you look like you have a flashlight at a campfire, telling creepy stories.
Yeah, it's only half a screen of white. Okay.
Actually, Wall Street Journal article: Google might need to be un-Google-like, and this is part of happening everywhere as the economy is not doing well. Individual offices are obviously cutting lots and lots of different things, and we've talked about Google's cost-cutting efforts and endeavors on this show in the last several episodes. But this Wall Street Journal article is basically saying that they're going to need to start getting rid of some of the things that make it Googly, some of the things that Google even pioneered in some of these places, such as the fun things around the offices and different services and unlimited snacks and foods and things like that.
Is it saying that they might suggesting that they'll have to do this, or this is things that Google said they're going to start doing?
It's discussing the fact that Google has gotten away, I won't say relatively unscathed, but decent compared to some of the other stocks that have tanked out there. But still, Google is feeling the pain, and that they're going to the Alphabet executives promised in the third quarter that their headcount growth would slow significantly, but it might not be enough. And so basically, they're saying, well, other areas that they're going to be able to, they're going to need to get rid of some of the cool googly things that they've got there. So I'll include a free link so that anybody who clicks on the link from us can read it, because I have a subscription, and so you won't have to be a subscriber to the journal to be able to read this. Just always interesting to see kind of the inside looks of into some of these companies and how they operate and things like that. So let me just paste this article in here. I mean, this link in here, because I don't think I used the free link on our show notes.
You did not.
Whoops. I just screwed that up. Sorry.
Free link it.
Here we go. I fixed it. Now it's free link. All right. So lots going on here. As I said, got the party for my son later today. So I'm going to go and do that, and then probably edit this in the morning. So probably won't be released until Wednesday morning. Again, apologies for that, but bear with me while we go through the growth. What's the term for it? Like in startup mode, growing pains. Expanded the team significantly, so some growing pains as we get used to our new workforce and larger staff size and whatnot. So see my LinkedIn post of my onboarding
exactly
my onboarding challenges. Yeah, we're having some scalability issues. I should have included that in my LinkedIn post. I did an entertaining LinkedIn post. Here, I'll just read it out for everybody. I said, some personal news. Production is completed ahead of schedule, and Thing 1 and Thing 2 have arrived free of defects. Our child unit count has now doubled, and I'm happy to report that the upgrade from SUV to minivan has also been completed successfully in advance of delivery. So, that's all for this week. Send us your questions and comments. You know where. Twitter, website, YouTube, whatever, wherever. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Really trying to get our subscriber count up on the YouTube side. So if you're not over there, please go and hit subscribe. It's free. And also, when we put out new content. Feel free to put your comments if you have questions or ideas or things you'd like to see us work on or more information on. Let us know. And always happy to even just say hi. So hi, everybody. And see you next week, and have a great week, and we'll see you next time on Workspace Recap.